What's up, what's up, what's up? It's your boy Big Sykes, man. All praises go out to the Most High, man. Thank you for everything that you have done or are doing and will do. My salutes to the real. Death to you fake niggas and fake bitches out there. You know? It's the second video, man. And this video here, we gonna bring it on home. St. Louis, you know? I ain't finna explain it to you too much, but this is a situation where 4 black men was accused of rape, of robbery, and forcing a trio of people to take a long walk off a short bridge, man. Check it out.
Three people out on a deserted bridge for a night of fun.
That was the plan, was just go out and hang out for a while.
When 4 others show up, the evening takes a dark turn.
He said, "This is not your lucky day. This is a robbery."
The robbery leads to rape and then murder, as all 3 are forced off the bridge.
I was falling and falling and falling.
It was the most violent, ugliest, horrible death.
It was a horrendous crime. 3 young people robbed, assaulted, and then one by one forced off a bridge 60 feet above the dark waters of the Mississippi. The river claimed the lives of 2 sisters. Their cousin managed to swim ashore, only to find himself accused of a double murder. When a break in the case revealed that 4 others were the real assailants, it would be up to authorities to piece together the events surrounding the crime and determine how an evening of fun could have turned into such a nightmare.
Alright, now before we go on, let me pause it for just a second, man. The 4 young black men that was accused of this crime, they maintain their innocence, but there was a rumor going around the city that the police beat their ass and made them confess. You know? There was another rumor going around the city that the surviving cousin, actually did all of this and then blamed it on 4 black guys, and that the police went out and found 4 black guys to fit the story. I don't know. I wasn't there. 1991, I was still a young nigga, you know what I'm saying? Shit, I was a teenager, you know what I'm saying? So I wasn't there. I don't know. It ain't like these was my day ones or no shit like that. There's just a story that circulated through our city. So, y'all get in the comments when it's over with and tell me what y'all think. Was it the 4 black guys, even though they was, you know, or was it the cousin?
Friday, April 5th, 1991. A clear, crisp, starlit night in St. Louis, Missouri. It was just before 2 a.m. on an isolated stretch of road along the Mississippi River. 19-year-old Tom Cummins stepped out of the shadows and desperately tried to flag down a car. He was soaking wet and covered in mud. A passing trucker stopped.
I needed help, like right now. And the trucker said he would go to a phone and call for me. So I said, okay. So he left.
Within minutes, police arrived to find a cold and shivering Tom Cummins huddled by the side of the road.
I started frantically telling them the story. They kind of realized, I guess, very quickly how big a deal this was.
Tom said that he and his 2 cousins, Julie and Robin Carey, had been attacked on a bridge by 4 men. His cousins were raped, he said, then all 3 forced off the bridge. After being carried downstream for nearly a mile, Tom somehow made it to shore, alone.
Hey, now, if you know anything about St. Louis and this muddy Mississippi, it's only been a few survivors that ever fell in this water and lived to tell about it. It's only been a handful of survivors that ever fell in this water in St. Louis and lived to tell about it. This man say he fell 60 feet into the water, 2 o'clock in the morning, floated a mile downstream, got out with no injuries.
Police took Tom back to the bridge to get more details. As he was being treated by paramedics, news cameras began to show up. At 3 a.m., 1 hour after Tom had climbed out of the river, homicide investigator Sergeant Dan Nichols arrived at the scene.
When I first encountered Thomas, he is wearing a shirt and jeans, and they are wet. There is some apparent river silt on him, some mud, and his hands are pruned as if he has been in the water.
Tom told police that he was from Maryland and was in St. Louis with his family visiting relatives. He said he and his cousins, 19-year-old Robin and 20-year-old Julie, had snuck out that night to the old Chain of Rocks bridge.
The girls had been there many times before and said it was perfectly safe. We just, wanted a chance without the parents there to just, hang out.
Nearly a mile long, the Chain of Rocks bridge was named after a string of partially submerged boulders in the Mississippi River. Closed since 1968, the bridge was a popular hangout for teens. As morning broke, Tom walked police through the attack.
I showed him all the different things up on the bridge. The bridge was pretty much full of graffiti. We went there with the intention of seeing a poem that Julie and Robin had written on the bridge.
Robin and Julie Carey were walking in this direction, along with Thomas. None of the manholes on the bridge at that point had covers. They were all open.
I'm like, okay, it's the middle of the night and we're walking out on a bridge and there's open holes that you can fall through. And I was definitely on edge.
The three found Julie and Robin's poem and stopped to read it. Just then, they heard voices in the darkness coming toward them. The voices belonged to 4 young men who also seemed to be out on the bridge for a night of fun.
They were friendly enough when we first met up with them, so I wasn't, I had no reason to be nervous, really.
A short time later, the young men turned to leave.
One guy called out that they had lost a flashlight on the bridge and asked that if we saw it, could we let him know? It kind of dawned on us, it was kind of weird, how are we going to get this guy's flashlight back to him if we come across this guy's flashlight?
Thomas and the girls continued on to the east side and walked to a point where they were able to look down over the Illinois shoreline. While they were down there, they heard approaching footsteps. They turned and they saw that it was the 4 guys that they had encountered earlier.
They kind of came up to the rail with us, sat there with us for a couple minutes, and then we started walking back, and they started walking back with us.
Then, in a flash, Tom, Julie, and Robin were surrounded.
One of the guys grabbed me, turned me around, and announced that it was a robbery. If you do what you're told, everything will be okay.
And he told them to lay down on the ground. This was probably about 40 yards up from where we're standing right now. They brought the girls a little further away from Thomas.
I was made to look at the ground, keep my face down towards the ground, semi-spread eagle, on my belly.
As Tom lay there, helpless, he said, he heard the cries of his cousins being sexually assaulted. The assailants, Tom said, took turns raping the girls and restraining him.
They had indicated throughout the whole thing that they had a gun. At one point, somebody came up and took my wallet out of my back pocket, and he also took my watch.
Thomas couldn't really see much about clothing of the individuals, but he could make out size and the tallest of the group, he referred to as being the leader. He seemed to be giving directions to the other three throughout the incident.
After several minutes, the men forced Tom down an open manhole onto a platform below the roadway. Here, he saw his cousins lying on the platform naked, but alive.
And then the three of them were ordered down to another level, which is the top of the bridge abutment, the concrete piers.
Suddenly, Tom said an arm reached out and pushed Julie off the bridge. Moments later, Robin was flung into the water 60 feet below. Then one of the attackers gave Tom a choice.
He said, jump or I'll shoot you.
And, before I got shot and then fell in the river, or I got pushed, I just jumped. And as I stepped off, I remember thinking, this is a long way down, because I was falling and falling and falling.
Hold on, I got a little issue with what my man just said, right? One, he said when he got down to the second level that his two cousins was laying naked. They was laying down naked. And he said an arm came out and pushed. That don't sound right to me. Hey, dig this. You ever been asleep with your woman? And your woman been all up on you and shit? And you try to push this bitch off you? That's hard as a motherfucker to do, ain't it, when they in a dead sleep? So think about if a young girl, 19, 20 years old, is laying out on the bridge naked, that somebody can just reach their arm out and push them. You gonna need two motherfucking arms, ain't you? Something ain't right about that.
I remember hitting the water. I remember going underwater. And I was really having to swim hard to get to the surface.
When he finally surfaced, he felt that the river was pushing him away from the Missouri side. He and Julie were swimming together at that point, and Robin had since disappeared.
Tom could make out lights along the Missouri shoreline. He began swimming toward the riverbank, with Julie close behind.
I would look up every so often, see where I was, see where Julie was, and at one point when I looked up, she wasn't there.
Tom kept swimming. He finally made it to shore.
It was a kind of an eroded area of mud, a real steep hill, and had to try several times to climb up the hill. Kept sort of sliding back in the water. When I finally made it up, it was pitch black, and trying to feel my way through briar bushes and little trees, and eventually made my way back out to the road.
This was the story Tom Cummins told police. Early that...
Now see, if you ever been out here on this bridge, man, then you know, like, see the bridge go across the river. You dig what I'm saying? So on the Missouri side, you got spots up and down the river. You dig? But see, in the 90s, it was only a couple of spots where you was gonna be able to come up out that water and make it up that hill. You wet, it's in the middle of the night. How the fuck you get back to a road? The only road out there is Riverview Drive. You dig what I'm saying? The only road out there is Riverview Drive. So if you go a mile down, you either going deeper off into Illinois towards Alton and all that shit, or you coming back down towards the water treatment plant. Ain't nowhere to get out the motherfucking water, dog. Ain't nowhere to get out that water.
Morning, authorities notified Tom's family.
2 beat cops showed up at our door, and they didn't say accident, they said incident. They couldn't tell us anything about Tom or Julie or Robin's whereabouts, or whether or not they were safe.
Family members rushed to the bridge as teams of police and rescuers combed the area. They found no sign of the girls. Nor did they find any trace of the 4 men Tom said had attacked them. investigators began to have doubts about Tom's story, especially since he had no obvious signs of injury.
I was told that if someone jumped from the height he jumped, he should be bruised and maybe have incurred broken bones.
And see what they not telling y'all, the reason they call it Chain of Rocks Bridge is because up under the bridge in the water is boulders right there. It's big ass rocks up under the water that you can, if the river is a little low, you can see them rocks. You can see them rocks. So yeah, if he fell 60 feet, you see what I'm saying? That's like, it's like 4 stories, 5 stories. You fall 60 feet and you ain't hit no rock.
Thomas didn't have any bruising on him at all that we could find.
To Nichols and fellow investigator Rick Trevor, something else about Tom didn't seem right.
His hair appeared to be neatly combed, and it appeared to be dry. To crawl out of the mist.
Come on now, you fall 60 feet, how the fuck your hair dry? 2 o'clock in the morning, how the fuck your hair dry?
Mississippi onto a muddy bank, and then walk through a wooded area and to come up with nicely combed hair that's clean. That was odd to us at the time.
Soon the young man who had claimed to be a victim.
Now Pete, this old boy in the back of the motherfucking ambulance, man. This is the actual photo of old boy in the back of the ambulance. Check my dude hair out. Where ain't he been in some water, y'all? Where my man's been in some water? Up to his face and shit any goddamn way. Where my man's was out here swimming. Come on now.
Would find himself under intense police scrutiny.
I realized very quickly and very clearly that I was their key suspect.
They were very convinced that he was guilty. And all they needed to do was get a confession out of him.
At 8 a.m. that morning, Tom Cummins was brought to police headquarters for more questioning.
For y'all that don't know what y'all looking at right here, this is before the Justice Center. This is before, you know what I'm saying, what they got downtown now. This is the old city jail, you heard me? Yeah, I did a night or 2 in that motherfucker too.
When you're dealing with a murder, the first people that you have to eliminate as suspects are those that are closest to the victim. And at that point, Thomas was that.
For the next 8 hours, without a lawyer present, Cummins underwent several interviews. Police say during that time, his version of events changed.
There was a lot of things that just...
Come on now. Our arm came out and pushed the whole naked body off the bridge. Flag number 1. My man's in the back of the motherfucking ambulance with dry hair. Red flag number 2. And here go the 3rd one.
We're real inconsistent. At one time he had mentioned how he had had something to do with their falling off the bridge. And another account where he had just run off the bridge, leaving the girls behind.
2 of the interviews were audio taped. As Cummins spoke, police noticed that he seemed to have deep feelings for his cousin, Julie.
That's it. That's it. Now the one thing I know about my people in St. Louis from the 90s, I ain't never heard of 4 young niggas out the hood in the 90s. These niggas off the north side, y'all. I ain't never heard of 4 niggas out the hood in the 90s. Being that Chain of Rocks bridge, trying to rape a bitch. 2 o'clock in the morning, y'all. It's too many people out here. You see what I'm saying? Niggas scared of that. Now I could see one man on a day with 1 female, they find a little spot and you see what I'm saying? He try to take the pussy. I understand that. You know what I'm saying? 4 black niggas, 2 white girls, and they got a white boy with them. I don't see that in the 90s. See, in the 90s, the police was killing niggas. And it was damn near like it was legal. You know what I'm saying? They ain't go to trial in the 90s for shooting niggas. So I just don't see that.
He and I have been very, very close since we were on vacation in Florida last year. We did have, I feel, a real strong bond between us.
Cummins' fondness for Julie seemed to go beyond simple friendship.
We definitely fell for each other real quick, but that was it. We both laid down the ground rules right away. I had a girlfriend, she had a boyfriend.
The way he talked.
Hold on. Not that this my cousin. Not this my cousin, so we can't look at each other like that. She had a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend and she had a boyfriend. It's a cold motherfucking demonstration right here, man.
And the words he used made it evident that he had more than platonic feelings about her.
Wanting to dig deeper at around 1:30 p.m., investigators requested that Cummins take a polygraph test. He agreed. By this time, he had been awake for more than 30 hours. Sleep deprivation can cause a person to fail a lie detector test. Cummins flunked his, and police now sat him down for another round of interrogation.
Another red flag, man.
They would switch off between being sort of nice about it and then just go ballistic. Absolutely go ballistic.
Police told Cummins that they believed he had made a sexual advance toward Julie on the bridge. They suspected that she became startled, lost her balance, and then fell into the river. Robin, investigators suggested, must have then jumped in to save her sister. By late afternoon,
Or he knew what he wanted to do. So he the one that planned the whole Chain of Rocks demonstration. He made one jump in the water, the one who died, the one who disappeared first. So he could rape the other one. Then pushed her body in the motherfucking water. You dig? And then goddamn me, he went somewhere and played in the motherfucking mud and the water for a little while so he could come up with a story. And who the fall guy? 4 niggas.
Cummins says the relentless questioning had left him exhausted and broken.
My mind at this point, honestly, was shutting down. I had no hope. I didn't care, I just wanted it to stop. They basically said, this is what happened, isn't it? And I said, if that's what you want to believe it. That's fine.
Authorities took this as a confession. Though they had still not recovered any bodies, police arrested Tom Cummins for the murder of his 2 cousins, Robin and Julie Carey. Police publicly declared him the prime suspect, but the investigation was about to become far more complicated. While Cummins was being questioned, investigators on the bridge discovered the flashlight that Cummins claimed one of the assailants had mentioned.
It was a black Kel light, and it had the word Horn, H-O-R-N, and the number 1 behind it engraved on it in 2 different places.
Officers released the information to the media, and within hours received a phone call from a woman who said the flashlight belonged to her husband. The man believed it had been taken by one of his children's friends, a teenager named Antonio Richardson. Police now initiated a search for him. The next day, the prosecutor's office decided there wasn't enough evidence to keep Tom Cummins in custody any longer, and he was released.
Y'all heard how that went? Now draw up something. This report, nor the people said when they flashlight came up missing. Before my video started, I told y'all, man, that was a hangout spot. You know what I'm saying? 1, 2 o'clock in the morning when you leave the club, go get something to eat, go out to Chain of Rocks Bridge. That's how it was in the 90s, you know? So it's like, they let him go. It wasn't enough evidence to keep him after they found a flashlight.
least. The following day, April 7th, nearly 60 hours after the attack, police tracked down Antonio Richardson and brought him in for questioning. At the time, Richardson was a 16-year-old high school dropout with a substance abuse problem.
He was timid to a point where he wouldn't look directly at you, but he was quick to tell you what happened.
Richardson admitted that he was on the bridge that night and that he was carrying the flashlight found by police. He also told authorities that he was one of the young men who had participated in the attack. On videotape later that day, Richardson confessed to raping one of the girls, but he claimed that he had been forced to take part in the crime by another man, 23-year-old Marlon Gray.
Only thing he was really saying that if whoever didn't cooperate with him, that something bad was going to happen to them.
Did Marlon ever tell you all?
The thing y'all need to know about old boy right here, Antonio Richardson, man. You heard him say he's 16 years old at this time and he no longer went to school, right? Now listen to his listen to his conversations, you know what I'm saying? His remarks that he finna make, his responses. And see if you can't tell that there's something wrong with old boy. It's something wrong with dude. They said it out their own mouth. Dude was timid. You know what I'm saying? Dude was scared. He wouldn't look up at you. Look at him now. He's still looking down. Dude was throwed off, man. Dude was real throwed off. You see what I'm saying? They just said he told police this and he told police that. But they didn't record this shit till later on. Now I'm gonna tell you what St. Louis police good for. They good for beating your motherfucking ass when they catch you. They good for taking you to city jail, putting you downstairs in the basement where them cells at, beating your motherfucking ass, and then bringing you upstairs to interrogate you. After they done beat your motherfucking ass, told you how they gonna kill you and all this bullshit, and they feed you a motherfucking script. They tell you what to say. And either you gonna ride with it or you not.
That everyone was going to have to rape the girls?
Yes, and also told us if we got caught or the police came to us, if we was to tell on him, when he get through doing with the police, he was going to hurt us bad.
While police set out to find Marlon Gray, Richardson was taken to the bridge and videotaped.
Okay, now where were their clothes placed?
The 23rd and right here.
He showed us where the manhole was that the others put the girls down, and then showed us the bridge abutment where the others pushed the two girls off of. And then they told the boy to jump from the bridge.
Richardson's story corroborated many of the details Tom Cummins had told police. During his interrogation, Richardson identified one of the other assailants as 19-year-old Reginald Clemens. Clemens was found at home that same evening.
He seemed somewhat nervous. After his rights were read to him in the interview room, he began to break down and cry.
In his interview with police, Clemens admitted that he too was there on the bridge. He also confessed to raping one of the girls. However, Clemens said it was Antonio Richardson who first came up with the idea and who committed the murders.
It was Tony down there with her, and he pushed the first girl from behind and she fell off, and he tried to push the other one. She grabbed her and he hit her and she fell, and he told the guy to jump or he was going to get shot.
And then the guy jumped.
Yes.
Later that evening, police tracked down their third suspect, Marlon Gray. At 6'4" and more than 200 pounds, Gray was an imposing figure.
He was real cocky, carefree, didn't really care what was going on.
Just like the other two suspects, Gray eventually admitted to being part of the attack.
He told us that The idea was brought up, let's rob them and let's rape the girls. Marlon admitted to the fact that he thought he was the leader of the group, so his job, because he was the largest of the four, was to take Thomas out of the picture.
On audio tape, Gray gave explicit details about the rape of Julie and Robin Carey.
They put up a small fight, but they realized it would be in their best interest not to fight.
After you took the clothes off of Julie, what happened then?
We had sex.
Okay. And you forced her to have sex. You raped her. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do after you had sex with Julie?
I went over to Robin and proceeded to do the same thing.
Gray told police.
Come on, man. This ain't even how niggas talked in the 90s. I went over to Robin and proceeded to do the same motherfucking thing. Don't it sound like he reading, dog? Don't it sound like dude reading?
That he left the bridge after the rapes and wasn't present when the murders occurred. During his interrogation, Marlon Gray gave police the name of their fourth suspect, 15-year-old Daniel Winfrey. When he was questioned by police, Winfrey also claimed he had nothing to do with the murders. He admitted only to restraining the girls and insisted it was the others who had committed the rapes. On Monday, April 8th, 4 days after the attack on the Chain of Rocks Bridge, police had 4 suspects in custody, all tracked down through a single piece of evidence named by Tom Cummins. Police called a news conference to announce that they had solved the crime.
There's no doubt in my mind that we have the right man in custody at the present time.
Was there any doubt Friday that you had the right man with Tom?
Well, no, that's correct. When we arrested Thomas Cummings, at that time we believed we had probable cause to arrest him, and we did so.
Hold on. Now, y'all just saw what I just saw. In the beginning, in the very beginning, they said 4 black dudes. You heard a white boy say it was 4 black dudes. We encountered 4 black dudes on the bridge. So if the man that was involved in this shit, the one who had to jump off the bridge, if he say it was 4 black guys, where this motherfucking white boy, where white boy Danny come from?
But soon, one of the 4 new suspects, Marlon Gray, would make a claim similar to the one Tom Cummins would make, that police had forced him to confess.
Come on, man. Come on, now.
And the whole time that they beat me.
Didn't I just say that, man? Didn't I just say that, man?
Having did.
They were telling me that I was guilty of murder.
Late April 1991. Despite an intensive 2-week search along the Mississippi River, 20-year-old Julie Carey and her 19-year-old sister Robin were still missing. The 2 young women had been pushed off the Chain of Rocks Bridge outside St. Louis and left for dead.
Now, they was outside St. Louis. Y'all heard this shit? Y'all heard how it's changing up right in front of y'all, man?
For their family, hope.
Look at this coastline, y'all. If dude fell off the bridge right up in here somewhere, right? And he went down about a mile, where the fuck he gonna come out the water at? You dig? On the St. Louis side, on the Missouri side, you can only get to Riverview. Excuse me, where dude come up out this water at?
Was fading.
You go back and forth between feeling like they had to have made it, and then you have those moments of devastation where you're kind of sitting there accepting like they're gone.
On April 26th, nearly 3 weeks after the attack, the moment everyone feared arrived. About 200 miles downstream, the river finally gave up a victim.
A fisherman down in southern Missouri was just fishing in a slough right off of the Mississippi River, and he found a body.
Badly decomposed, the body was identified through dental records as that of Julie Carey. Robin's body was never found. The Carey family decided to have a funeral and memorial service for both girls. On May 20th, hundreds of friends and family members gathered to say goodbye to the sisters. Tom Cummins, who survived the attack on the bridge, recalls the closeness his cousins shared.
Julie had the utmost respect for Robin, and they had a good relationship. They really, really deeply cared about each other.
Julie was a poet. She was just beautiful and charismatic and funny and everything that I wanted to be.
Julie was an amazing person. I mean, she helped to teach homeless children how to read. She was a member of Amnesty International.
Robin was not your average 19-year-old. The average 19-year-olds are worried about their hair and their makeup. She cared about so many other things that were so much bigger than her.
With the recovery of Julie's body and her sister Robin presumed dead, authorities now began putting together a double murder case. 4 suspects were in custody. 23-year-old Marlon Gray, 19-year-old Reginald Clemens, 16-year-old Antonio Richardson, and 15-year-old Daniel Winfrey. At first glance, they seemed an unlikely group to have committed such an awful crime. The oldest of the group, Marlon Gray, had been an Army reservist. He grew up in a large family, the youngest of 6 children.
He was a kind child, always would give you the shirt off his back, even if it meant he had to come home and explain why he didn't have his shirt.
He's a very intelligent guy, and in that group that he traveled with, he was kind of the center of that group. When people were hanging out together, it was, hey, what's Marlon think about this? What's Marlon want to do?
Police believe that as the oldest, largest, and most strong-willed, it was Gray who had taken charge that night on the bridge. After the attacks, police learned Gray had bragged about the crime to friends. He was also seen wearing a watch like the one stolen from Tom Cummins. But authorities suspected that Reginald Clemens and Antonio Richardson were the ones who actually pushed the Carey girls into the river below. Clemens and Richardson were cousins, but had vastly different upbringings.
Tony's was much more seemingly chaotic, had much more, of a street kid, much more on his own from a very young age. And Reggie seemed to have a little bit more of a stable home life. Tony and Reggie were clearly the followers.
Authorities believe the youngest of the suspects, 15-year-old Daniel Winfrey, was also a follower. He had met Marlon Gray just a few weeks before the murders.
He was just, a kid who fell in with an older guy who pretty much told him what to do.
The state's case was helped by the description of the attack given by the Carey girls' cousin, Tom Cummins. However, it was Daniel Winfrey who described in vivid detail how Marlon Gray had come up with the idea for the attack.
Marlon Gray said, smacking his hands together, "I feel like hurting somebody tonight." He told the others, grab the girls. It's clear from Daniel Winfrey and from Tom Cummins that Marlon Gray directed the 2 young men to take the victims to a particular manhole and get rid of them.
Just as authorities were putting the finishing touches on their case, they found themselves facing serious allegations.
Now y'all see how in the beginning, motherfucker said it was Antonio Richardson. It was his plan. You see what I'm saying? Now the white boy saying it was Marlon Gray. Come on, man.
After his arrest, Marlon Gray filed a brutality complaint, accusing police of beating his confession out of him.
And at one point, they stood me up against the wall and was punching me in my stomach and chest. At one point, they put their hands around my neck, they choking me.
Gray's mother says that when she saw her son after his police interrogation, he was noticeably different.
He was really, really bleary-eyed, and he sounded confused, and he didn't quite know where he was. And distressing for me.
He said the police beat him senseless, although he didn't have senseless beating injuries. Pictures were taken.
You see how dude laughed that off, man? Now listen to what my man just said. They choked me, had me up against the wall, they beat me in my chest and my stomach. Why wouldn't they hit him in his face? Come on, man.
In Gray after his interrogation. The matter was investigated by Internal Affairs.
No wrongdoing was ever uncovered. To prosecutor Nels Moss, Gray's allegations of police mistreatment were simply a smokescreen. According to the prosecutor, everything pointed to Gray as the ringleader.
While he did not actively push the young ladies off the bridge, he certainly was responsible for the series of events that ultimately led to their death.
Prosecutor Moss believed the youngest of the four suspects, 15-year-old Daniel Winfrey, did not actively participate in the rapes or murders. Convinced that Winfrey could help his case, Moss offered him a deal: avoid a possible life sentence in exchange for testifying against the others. Winfrey accepted, and in September 1992, he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, rape, and robbery and was sentenced to 30 years in prison. With one assailant behind bars and willing to testify, Moss now turned to the three remaining suspects. He would seek the death penalty for each.
My city.
October 1992, St. Louis. Marlon Gray, Reginald Clemens, and Antonio Richardson were in custody, charged with the brutal murder of sisters Julie and Robin Carey. The girls died after being pushed off the Chain of Rocks bridge. A fourth suspect, Daniel Winfrey, had confessed to hit.
Hold on. Follow me, y'all. Give me a second. Let's go with this, right? I want y'all to pay attention to this water, man.
October 1992, St. Louis. Marlon Gray, Reginald Clemens, and Antonio Richardson were in custody, charged with the brutal murder of sisters Julie and Robin Carey. The girls died after being pushed.
See these motherfucking rocks? Y'all see these rocks, man? Y'all see how the water comes over and down here it drops down? You ain't finna fall. These rocks is all up under this bridge, bruh. That's what these motherfucking pillars is sitting on, dog. You ain't finna fall 60 feet off this motherfucking bridge and not hit none of these rocks, dog. Come on, now. You ain't finna fall 60 feet in this motherfucking water and travel down this river without getting scraped up and all fucked up. You ain't finna fall 60 feet in this motherfucking water and your hair not get wet. Come on, man.
Off the Chain of Rocks bridge. A fourth suspect, Daniel Winfrey, had confessed to his role in the crime and agreed to testify against the other three. If convicted, they could each face the death penalty. As the alleged ringleader, 25-year-old Marlon Gray would stand trial first. Prosecutor Nels Moss knew that winning a murder conviction against Gray wouldn't be easy. By all accounts, Gray wasn't even on the bridge at the time the girls plunged into the river 60 feet below.
It was going to be very difficult to convince a jury that a person who had not actually pushed the young ladies off the bridge could be guilty of murder first degree.
But Moss would argue that because Gray had orchestrated the crime, he was just as culpable as the others. On October 9th, 1992, at the Municipal Courts building in St. Louis, Gray's murder trial got underway. In his opening statement, Prosecutor Moss laid out the brutal details of the crime.
These young women were savaged by these defendants. They were subjected to the terror of rape, the terror of a slow death.
In her opening statement, defense attorney Dorothy Hersey told the jury that police had forced a false confession out of her client.
He was beaten in his chest, in his stomach, thrown on the floor with a bad knee, and he couldn't get up.
On Saturday, October 10th, the prosecution called to the stand Tom Cummins, the Carey sisters' cousin, who had survived the attack on the bridge. Cummins identified Marlon Gray as one of the 4 assailants and described the horror he and the girls were subjected to. Cummins told the jury how one by one he and his 2 cousins were forced off the bridge. Reporter Tim Bryant covered the trial for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch.
People were on the edge of their seat. Everybody in the courtroom, of course the jurors as well, put themselves on that bridge.
Criminals are using tools.
How could I survive this? What a horrible death.
But during cross-examination, the defense came out swinging at Cummins.
As far as I was concerned, he was going to be the man I was going to try to blame for the murders.
Defense attorney Hersey grilled Cummins about the statements he had made to investigators shortly after the attacks. She confronted him with the police report. According to the report, Cummins had admitted to making a sexual advance toward his cousin Julie, which authorities speculated caused her to fall into the river. Cummins told the jury that police had it wrong. He repeatedly denied the conclusion investigators had drawn, saying, quote, "Police suggested it." At this point, Hersey decided to switch her line of questioning.
I suddenly asked him, "Did the police do something to you?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Did they beat?"
Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on, man.
"Beat you?" He said, "Yes." Sort of a hush fell over the courtroom at that time. And I thought, how wonderful, because this helps my argument that Marlon was beaten.
The allegations of abuse presented a challenge to the state's case. On redirect, Prosecutor Moss was able to suggest that the remarks Cummins had made to police were in fact caused by sheer exhaustion. Moss also claimed that the defendant, Marlon Gray, had not been abused either. The state then turned to Marlon Gray's confession. In it, Gray admitted that he had assaulted Tom and raped the Carey sisters.
They put up a small fight, but they realized it would be in their best interest not to fight.
That man is reading. He is reading. This man is reading, y'all.
On October 14th, 6 days into trial, the state called to the stand Daniel Winfrey. He'd already pled guilty to his part in the crimes and was testifying in exchange for a lighter sentence. Winfrey told the jury that after meeting Tom and the Carey sisters on the bridge, Marlon Gray said, quote, "I feel like hurting somebody." According to Winfrey, Gray was in charge at the scene, but left the bridge while Antonio Richardson and Reginald Clemens took Tom and his cousins through a manhole to a lower level and then forced them off. On cross-examination, defense attorney Dorothy Hersey seized on the fact that Winfrey had cut a deal with the state in order to help himself.
How do they know he's telling the truth?
I'm here.
He could have been the guiltiest one of all.
I'm here.
Despite the tough cross-examination, reporter Tim Bryant felt the combined testimony of Winfrey and Cummins made a strong impression.
Well, there was the cumulative effect. I mean, you'd put all the stories together, and there's still, all these people are on that bridge.
On Thursday, October 15th, after calling 34 witnesses, the prosecution rested. Defense attorney Dorothy Hersey opened her case by again challenging the credibility of Tom Cummins and suggesting that he was the real killer. Hersey played the videotape of Cummins in the ambulance the night of the attack. She pointed out how his hair appeared neatly combed and dried, leading police to suspect Cummins in the crime. Then Hersey called Marlon Gray to the stand. While he admitted to being on the bridge, he insisted that he was innocent of murder.
He denied any participation whatsoever. He said this all happened when he went off the bridge.
Gray explained that he had gone to his car.
I have to say that the reason for me going to the car was to smoke some marijuana.
He said he learned about the murders only after the others had come off the bridge. When police questioned him, Gray said, they first refused to believe his story and then became violent.
The police commenced beating me. This went on for hours. This was no 5-10 minute thing. It went on for hours. They took breaks and came back.
But on cross-examination, the state pointed out that photographs taken of Gray after his interrogation showed no signs of injury. As the prosecutor kept up his questioning, Gray grew irritated.
Everybody else, according to him, was lying. Everybody. He had no emotion except anger. He showed himself to be a man without compassion, to be truly evil.
The Chevy Powerhouse. A lot goes into that.
Cold motherfucking game.
The prosecutor. This was a man who knew I was innocent, yet he was standing in front of these people saying that I was guilty.
Following Gray's testimony, the defense rested. Before the case went to the jury, the judge instructed them that if it had been shown that Gray aided or encouraged the killings, he could be guilty of murder. The jury deliberated for just over 4 hours before reaching a verdict. They found Marlon Gray guilty of both counts of first-degree murder.
It took a while to register, and when it did register, everything slowed down. I just went cold inside. I froze. I don't know if it was fear. I can't even describe the feeling. It was like, I guess it was like dying.
2 days later, the jury sentenced Marlon Gray to death by lethal injection. The sentence had ominous implications for co-defendants Reginald Clemens and Antonio Richardson. The same testimony and evidence that had persuaded a jury to convict Gray would soon be presented at their trials.
Some cold motherfucking demonstration right here, man.
In late 1992 in St. Louis, Marlon Gray was sentenced to death for his role in the murders of Julie and Robin Carey. Prosecutor Nels Moss now turned his attention to the remaining 2 suspects, Reginald Clemens and Antonio Richardson.
The point in their cases was they were the actual people who were under the bridge and pushed the young women off.
On February 2nd, 1993, the trial of Reginald Clemens got underway. The state's 2 main witnesses were once again Tom Cummins, the Carey sisters' cousin, and Daniel Winfrey, who'd confessed to his role in the crime. As Marlon Gray's defense had done, Clemens' lawyers argued that Winfrey was testifying for the state simply to save himself, and that Tom Cummins' story wasn't credible. Jurors didn't buy it, and in 3 hours, they returned a verdict of guilty. Reginald Clemens was later sentenced to death. With 2 convictions and a guilty plea, the state now offered Antonio Richardson a deal. He could avoid the death penalty if he pleaded guilty and agreed to a sentence of life in prison. Richardson's defense lawyers declined an interview with American Justice, but his appeals attorney, Gino Battisti, says Richardson was encouraged to accept the plea bargain.
The lawyers knew that it would be a terrible uphill struggle and that they had to do everything possible to try to save his life.
Richardson refused the deal.
I'd rather die before I plead guilty to a crime I didn't commit. That's just simple as that.
At his trial, the defense portrayed Richardson as a troubled 16-year-old who got caught up in the wrong crowd.
I think the defense made a good argument that he was dominated by these 2 older men.
For the 3rd time, Tom Cummins took the stand and was invited to put a name to the voice of the man who told him, quote, "Jump or I'll shoot."
Reggie's and Marlon trial, they specifically asked him, can you identify the person that pushed your cousin from the bridge and ordered you to jump? He told him no. He come in my trial. They asked him the same line of question. It's me all of a sudden.
see, and y'all can hear in Antonio Richardson conversation, man, dude wasn't all there. You know what I'm saying? Dude wasn't all there. Each one of them say, yeah, we was out there that night, but we ain't had shit to do with this. Each one of them said the same thing. Yeah, we was out there that night. You know, but shit, we ain't had nothing to do with that. Even the ringleader, the nigga they calling the ringleader, even he said that shit must have happened when I went back to the car. I ain't see none of that. I don't know nothing about none of that. You see what I'm saying? Come on, man.
After deliberating for 9 hours, the jury found Richardson guilty. But this time, jurors couldn't agree on a sentence. Under Missouri law, the decision then fell to the presiding judge. On July 2nd, 1993, he sentenced Richardson to die by lethal injection.
The judge gave me the death penalty, not the juror. The judge gave me the death penalty.
Nearly 8 years later, on March 6th, 2001, and
for any of y'all that don't know, they just showed y'all Bunter. The death chamber used to be at it's on the tip of my motherfucking tongue, Potosi. It used to be at Potosi, but when they built Bunter, they shut Potosi down, you know, and they switched it over to Bunter.
Antonio Richardson was scheduled to be executed. He was just hours away from death when he was granted a reprieve. The U.S. Supreme Court halted the execution while it decided on the constitutionality of putting to death the mentally impaired. Richardson's IQ was said to be around 70. But then, in June 2002, another Supreme Court decision was handed down, ruling that judges cannot determine sentences in
Are you researching dental implants? Nubia's
cases.
So how the fuck did the judge say
Richardson's death sentence was commuted to life without the possibility of parole. From prison in Jefferson City, Missouri, he continues to proclaim his innocence.
I was put in a situation where it almost cost me my life for something I didn't even have nothing to do with.
Reginald Clemens and Marlon Gray remain on death row. As their appeals go forward, they too insist that they are innocent.
I wasn't on the bridge at the time that they say this happened. And no one ever testified that I told anyone to do anything with regards to murder.
But for prosecutor Nels Moss, this was a case that left him with no doubt about the guilt of the defendants. Moss also says he was struck by the courage of Tom Cummins, who testified at trial not once, but 3 times, reliving the terror of that night and the sorrow over not being able to save his cousins.
Tom, I think to this day, still regrets that and suffers, I guess what you'd call survivor's remorse. This has marked his life.
And it's like this motherfucker right here. See, that's the real demon behind this situation. The police. You know what I'm saying? The police, they did what they do. But see, it's up to this man right here that we looking at right now to say, nah, this don't sound right. You know what I'm saying? It's up to this man right here to say, damn, if he fell in that water 60 feet, why is his hair not wet? He never even, come on, man. Come on, y'all.
And will be a part of his life forever.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming out.
It took Tom Cummins several years before he could talk in detail about the final moments with his cousin Julie.
And look at him. Look at him, man. I don't like this dude, y'all. Straight up. I'm a Cancer, man. So it's like, I get vibes from people. I get feelings from people, you know? And come on, man. Come on, man. You's a foul motherfucker, dog.
I communicated with Julie in the water. That was one of those things I don't really talk about.
My mama told me a long time ago, when you talking to a motherfucker, watch their eyes. See, when a person under pressure, the only thing that they can't control is their eyes. They can't control their eyes. They can't control their breathing. They can't control their nostrils flaring up. Most motherfuckers who lie, they look off to the left, not the right. They look off to the left.
That and suffers.
I don't really talk about. But yeah, we communicated, and she swam for a while with me. And at some point, she drowned.
It never came out at trial because he couldn't articulate it that he and Julie had been together. They were about 5 feet under, and he almost took a breathful of water. He just took her elbows and he shoved her up over him back to the surface, and he came up right after her. And as soon as they resurfaced, they were swept apart again.
Now, y'all heard him say in the beginning that he was swimming in front of her. He was swimming in front of her, and he had to keep looking back to make sure she was back there. Y'all heard him in the beginning say, I don't know where the first one went. You see what I'm saying? But I was swimming, and she was swimming with me. She was right behind me. I looked back, and she had disappeared. Now, all of a sudden, after the motherfucking trial, y'all was together, and you tried to push up. Get the fuck out of here, man. Fuck wrong with you? Who you think you talking to, dog?
Tom and Janine Cummins look forward to the day.
He looked like he'll fuck his cousin, don't he?
When each of the men exhaust their appeals and are finally forced to accept their punishment.
3 of these guys are still trying to point the finger at this person and this person and this person.
Nah, they pointing the finger at you. You know what I'm saying? Look off to the left. Yeah, slow it.
Instead of just admitting that they did something wrong.
We know who these 4 guys are, and they're in jail. A lot of families don't ever get that. And for that, I feel lucky. I can't say justice has been done because Julie and Robin are gone. There is no justice for that. We can never have them back, and no matter what happens after that, there's no justice.
In 2004, Janine Cummins wrote a memoir about her cousins called A Rip in Heaven, detailing the impact of this violent crime on her and her family. In the book, Janine expresses frustration with the constant pleas for mercy, which she says allow death row inmates to be seen as victims themselves. As for Tom Cummins, in 1995, he won a settlement against the St. Louis Police Department for violating his civil rights while he was in custody. The terms of the settlement prohibited the release of any details, and St. Louis authorities admitted no wrongdoing. For American Justice, I'm Bill Curtis.
Now, before this go off, man, how the fuck did the white boy win a motherfucking case about the police? You know, police brutality. But then the niggas say, you know what I'm saying, shit, they beat my ass too. They don't believe that. Hey man, this a cold motherfucking game, man. This your boy Big Sykes. Get in the comments, man. Get in the comments, man. I'm out of here. Salute to the real, death to the fake, man. Flat out. It's a cold motherfucking demonstration, y'all. Yes, Lord.